Watch the breakdown.
Welcome to the second episode of In Focus with Jones Road Productions, where we guide you on all things video marketing for small to medium-sized businesses in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm Ben.
And I'm Tash.
Tash, we made it, episode number 2. A lot of people said we wouldn't do it, but baby, we did it. Today, we're going to be talking about what is video marketing. So, what is it?
That's a good question. It's a very broad question. Look, I think, video marketing fits into many things, but if I guess I had to summarize it in a sentence, it would be, communicating a message about your product or your service through the medium of video and then pushing that out there for the world to see. So, again, very broad, but that would be video marketing in a sentence, I suppose. Okay,
so Craig, who owns the window washing company, he's got an amazing video on his website. So, I'm out here cleaning cars. I should probably be making a video for my website as well. Where do I start?
Another great question. Look, the thing that I always say to everyone when they're starting out on their video journey is, what's your purpose? Just because Barry down the road has got a great video on his website, that's fantastic. But don't just copy. Find out what your purpose is and how it's actually going to align with your goals before you start.
Okay. I think it was Craig, actually, but carry on.
Well, okay, sorry, Craig. Well, Barry's probably got one as well,
I guess another big question, which seems pretty self-explanatory, but I just wonder if you could touch on it for me, is why should people be using video marketing?
That's another really good question. And
I know, very broad as well.
Yeah, and there's many answers to it, really. But I think the first thing would be is that video is a really effective way of being able to communicate a message. First of all, we're really used to seeing video. So we see video on all different types of platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it might be. So as a consumer, we're really used to video. And the other thing is that it's a great, powerful way to be able to get a message across. A 30-second video can speak volumes. There's many reasons why you should be using video, but I think that's a top reason. The other thing is that Google is really liking video as well. So, if you're using video on your website, for example, that puts you up the Google rankings.
All about the SEO, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. The other reason I think video is really good is because, yes, it allows you to communicate a message really effectively and really succinctly, but it also allows you to tell a story. And this is something I'm really big on, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later on in the podcast. But we remember stories, so we are ingrained to remember stories. We used to sit around the campfire and we would learn through storytelling, and videos are a great way to tell stories. So if you're telling a story and someone's remembering your story, they're likely going to remember your message and therefore your product or your service. So that's why I've always been a big advocate of video marketing. Not to say that you just have to use video. The other really good thing about video, God, there's so many things that come to mind.
Preach, Tasha, preach to me.
Is the fact that obviously it can be used as a tool within your other advertising spheres if you have them, So it can be really complementary. You might have a radio ad that you've only got a 20-second spot and you're trying to say something that can then be complemented by a video. So it doesn't just fit in with a video in isolation. It can be used with all forms of other marketing. So yeah, look, for me, it's definitely the most powerful tool, which is, I guess, why we started this business in the first place.
Really surprised we didn't hear a plug for billboards in there. I know you've got a massive rager for billboards.
Look, I do love a billboard. But
digital billboard, video, boom,
exactly.
Done,
Precisely. And the best marketing or advertising strategies are one where they are cohesive and they're multifaceted and they're a multi-touch point, so you can communicate your message. But look, if you have to pick one, pick video. It'll get you the best results.
Yeah, most cost effective, I'd say. And speaking of TikTok, don't forget everyone can follow us on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, we do have a TikTok.
We do have a TikTok.
We do. Oh, we should get back on that.
Tasha's videos are outperforming mine 10-1, which is no surprise. No one wants to see this ugly face, obviously. These dulcet tones.
I think another reason why people should be using video marketing is that consumers expect it now. It's become more of a necessity than luxury. I read a report at the end of 2022 which said that 89% of consumers expect brands, large or small, to be using video in some way. So if you're not using video, that's 89% of people that you are not targeting. which is a large number. So yeah, I think even from a consumer perspective, we're used to it, we want it, we're seeing it. If you're not using video, you're just missing out.
I think another great way that video can be used as well is it gives you the ability to add a bit of personality that your customers might not always see. And a great use of this was I saw someone, I can't remember who it was, but they were doing, when they would onboard a new client, they would send them an email saying, hey, blah, 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 thanks for joining, cheers, Baz. And inside that video email would be a video where they've just got their phone and just recorded it and said, hey, welcome to the team, these are the next steps, etc., etc. But it just really, really elevated, I guess, the experience that the customer's having. You know, that's a pretty strong personal touch that someone's going to remember for a long time. Something that, you know, maybe we should be doing as well, but...
I mean, like, that's actually a really good, interesting point, because like I wouldn't necessarily categorize that as video marketing, because it's in-house marketing essentially, right? Because you're using it specific for onboarding. Yeah,
I guess when the funnel, right, the big funnel that everyone talks about in the marketing sphere that's I guess more of a customer retention now that they're already become a customer or not.
Oh, okay. So you're saying,
do you know what I mean? Like video marketing can be like like all these different touch points with customers, especially even when you've had a customer for a while. It can be just checking in with them with a video.
Oh, 100%. And this is why I go back to what I said at the beginning, which is like, what's your purpose, right? So like, who are you trying to talk to? Why are you trying to talk to them? What is the message you're trying to communicate? If you are a small business that has been in business for 6 months, or you're a business that has been a small, medium-sized business that you might be in business for 10 years, what you're trying to communicate is probably very, very different. So it's about going back to that purpose in the first instance and identifying where your customers are, as you said, in their funnel, right? Like, is this an awareness piece? Are you brand new? Do we need to be actually just shouting about the fact that you exist? Or have you been in business for a long time? Do you have a pretty good market share at the moment? And actually, have you got a new product? And we just need to deep dive on that product. So, with video marketing, going back to your purpose and identifying why you want a video. I mean, the amount of times I say to our clients, okay, why are we doing this? I'm not just going to shoot a video for you because it's some pretty pictures and it can sit on your website, like what job is it going to do for you? Sometimes it can be a significant investment for a small and medium-sized business. You might spend, I don't know, $6,000-7,000 on a video, right? So it has to work for you. So yeah, going back to that purpose is the first rule when I speak to anyone.
Yeah, I think Simon Sinek did say this. He, in his book, Start With Why. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And outlining your purpose is really important.
That's a really good point, Ben. So what's Jones Road purpose? What's our purpose? Why do we exist?
I guess the crux of it was we wanted to give the smaller to medium-sized businesses in New Zealand, which is a huge amount. Like it's, I think, 90% of businesses in New Zealand are categorised as small. I think I saw something that Next Advisory posted. 70% of businesses have one employee.
Wow.
Which is, when you think about it, that's huge. That's 400,000 businesses. Just the old solopreneur, or a lot of businesses are like us, where we are business partners and life partners.
Lucky you.
So that's a really good point. I think a lot of the times we get engaged to create a video without really knowing the purpose as to why the business or the business owner knows they should be doing video because they've seen their mate do one or they've heard someone at their bloody networking group do one. But they don't know why or how. It's all good making a video and sticking it on your website, but then how are people going to see it?
Yeah, so going back to my initial question. Why did we found Jones Road Productions? What's our why?
What's our why?
Yeah, what's our why?
Because we wanted to deliver amazing content for small businesses in New Zealand.
Yeah, easy as. So that's why we exist.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of misconception about how much video production can cost.
Yeah.
Because you can spend, if you want to, $100,000 easily, and the video might win an award, but will it have much impact on your business? Not sure about that one. I mean,
$100,000 is a lot to spend on a video.
Okay, here's an example. This is the kind of realm that we're playing in. I went to a lens rental store the other day, looking to upgrade some lenses that we've got because we always want to be pushing the envelope. And I said to the guy, this project we're working on, it's about 30K. And he looks at me and goes, oh, 30K per day. And I was like, my fucking jaw hit the ground. It's like 30K per day. Are you serious? $30,000 a day. I was like, nah, mate, that's like everything. Pre-production, production, post-production, blah, blah, blah. I was like, Jesus, 30 grand.
That's a really good point. And this is something that we can also touch on, I think, later on in the podcast. But people say to me all the time, like, how much does a video cost? How much does a 30-second video cost? And I always think that's a really interesting question because, at Jones Road, everything we do is kind of very bespoke. So, while we have a couple of packages, like, we really look at what you're trying to achieve and then we price accordingly. But you can do a video for as little as, $5,000, which could be a hero video and then 3 or 4 kind of cut down videos, which you can put on social media. Effectively, we could give you a year, maybe 2 years worth of video content for $5,000. So, it depends obviously what business you're in, but, from a return on investment perspective, you're going to spend $5,000, you might get 500 grand. So, I guess we exist to make great content accessible to small and medium-sized businesses so they can achieve those results.
Yeah, guaranteed. I think we're going to touch on our process in another episode, but just touching on it quickly, we generally start with a video that's got a single message. So it's really clear and it resonates with the audience. But what we like to do at the same time is also, to make it cost effective, film a few different underlying messages that we can use as cut downs on social so that it's multi-purpose and it's a lot more cost effective for the business, so they're not just getting one video that does one job and they've spent, their year's marketing budget on creating a video. It might have been $6,000-$7,000.
Yeah, and I think going back to why you should use, video marketing, you can see there, like, it's cost effective. Look how many messages you can distribute. Look how much content that you can, everyone now, we work with a lot of digital marketing agencies and they say the thing they struggle with most is the frequency of content, like that's what we can actually deliver for you. There are so many ways you can use video content and there are so many benefits to using video content. We could spend an hour talking about it just on this podcast alone. But I think it's, as I said, it's identifying, why you should be using it in your business, not just why should I be using video content in general, but why should you be using video content and how can you use it? A TikTok, a 15-second TikTok is video marketing. A website video is video marketing. Social media ads, that's video marketing. Television ads, which used to go on,
don't forget the TVCs,
man. which used to only be, back in the day, if you were shooting a TVC, it would only be on the television, right? And that's fine because that's where everyone's eyeballs were. But now you can put that on YouTube, and people can. That's how you're served ads, through things like YouTube pre-roll and so there's so many ways you can use video marketing, not just in terms of the messaging you're trying to communicate or parts of the funnel, but just even the platforms that are available that have video. So honestly, the options are endless. Part of our job is helping you figure out where the right message for your video and where it's best placed.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm really looking forward to delving into these topics in the next 200 episodes that we're going to be, 199 now. Does that first one count?
Yeah, I think so.
Surely, right?
Surely that counts.
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome to talk about these things a bit more in detail, obviously, like you say, with certain topics, placement, strategy, even just the production process. You can just talk for bloody hours on it. So looking forward to that in the next upcoming episodes, Tash.
Yeah, likewise.
Oh, thanks for joining me. Episode 2 in the can.
See you then.